Hi, this is Isabel Letzer. So welcome to my channel. Today I want to make a short video on work permits because I'm getting a lot of questions from all over the world. So before I get started, just be aware of what's going on right now in the world and that most countries right now are going to be focused internally. And there's going to be a lot of transition with companies going on in each country. So for all those who have relocation, expatriation type of projects, and I said this in my previous video, this is not ideal time. So in my previous video, I said, right now, just observe, look at the job description, look at the market, but it's just going to be very challenging in this day. So just an introduction before I share the slides, that right now is not an ideal time. So let me just share the slides on work permits right now. Okay, here we go. So clarity and insights on work permits in Switzerland. So just recapping, who needs a work permit in Switzerland? Basically, if you're not a Swiss citizen, you need to get a form of work authorization. I stated it below because that's it. You know, if you're EU, non-EU, you do need some type of a work authorization. For UK citizens, I just put it here. You can apply in Switzerland until the end of December as a EU, but after that, I don't know. So we'll have to get back on that. Foreign spouses of Swiss citizens need a work authorizations. And finally, people work for international organizations need a form of work permit. So, and it's called a carte de légitimation. So that's just the general situation. So what are some of the different types of permits out there? Well, the first one is the less than 90 days type of declaration that I put the link here below. You're welcome to type it up. So, and I will put it in the text below the video. I will share that so that you don't have to retype the whole thing. So work in Switzerland less than 90 days is basically for someone who comes as a detached employee or as a consultant. So let's say you have something you need to achieve in Switzerland for a few months. Again, it's not long, less than 90 days. You can do this online. So this can be helpful for Europeans who just want to do something short in Switzerland. Number two is the carte de légitimation for UN. So if you're a UN worker or international organization worker, then you have those carte de légitimation as a resource, and that's what you would be granted. The G work permit is for people who are border workers, meaning you're French or you're German or maybe an Austrian, and you're trying to work in Switzerland and do the back and forth every day or every weekend, maybe even a UK person coming every weekend back home. So you would get a G work permit, and that's valid 5 years. If you're an international working and living in Switzerland, you would get a B work permit. So this is for your expat who lives and works in Switzerland, and it's valid 5 years. This is the big permit that everyone tries to get. Then you have the L work permit. This is the temporary one. It's very temporary. Again, it's something that the Swiss will issue when they run out of B permits. So when people are a bit worried about having only an L permit, I said, don't worry about it. You can easily transition that into a B. So that's not an issue. But it lets you work also in Switzerland. And where we get to the more interesting type of work authorization is the C work permit. So this is for people who are long-term resident. They worked 8 years at least in Switzerland. So they would be favored. Let's be honest. If you're a C permit holder or Swiss citizen, you are always going to be favored because you're a long-timer. You've put in the time and the effort. Typically, you would know the Swiss market a bit more. If I recruit someone who worked 8 years for the company across the street doing the same thing, they would be more knowledgeable than someone from another country because they understand the Swiss specificities. So just see it also as people who are more experienced with the market. So again, they would be favored. And I've put the link below of the Swiss Info link where you can check a little bit about all those work permits and get more information. And finally, how do you get this work permit? So here you have 4 ways, and I've talked about this before in my other video called Non-EU Wants a Work Permit in Switzerland. At this stage of summer 2020, I would say your only way, and again, being very realistic, I'm not talking about the one-off who gets a work permit because they know someone and they were very lucky, or the intern who managed to get hired. Again, we're talking about 1% of the people. I'm talking about in general, what are your chances? I would say the only option is really the number 3 is to get a job with the UN or international organization body, not to be confused with the private sector. So the first one is to marry a Swiss citizen. So if you marry a Swiss citizen, obviously you get the family reunion, it's done, over with, you get a work permit. But that's not so easy. We're talking about relationship, humans, etc. It's not so simple. Getting a job offer from the private sector without being the bearer of bad news right now with what's going on, people needing outplacement even within Switzerland, the jobs are going to be very competitive. You won't be the first priority in the selection. So I would say, to me, that's a little bit of a waste of time right now. Number 3 is the one I recommend, is to get a job with an international organization. Just check your resume, see if you match. If you really want to work in Switzerland, try to shape your resume to work for these organizations. If you're too far away from the type of work, unfortunately, there's not much you can do there. And starting a business, again, unless you have a multi-million-dollar business you're trying to expand in Switzerland, or very, very successful business in your country that you're trying to expand, it's going to be tough to just come with very little resources in Switzerland and say, I want to start a business, because you don't have a tracking record, and it's going to be hard to give you a work permit for that. And so again, if you look at those 4 ways, for me, the one that seems the most realistic is the UN or international organization. But you need to have this kind of work under your belt. Maybe if you're a functional specialist, meaning HR, finance, and all that, you can always do that for international organizations. So, and I will share the links below to international organization, how to find those jobs and see if you match, look at job descriptions. But the permit issue is eliminated for you. You can get hired globally. So that's your only way. Again, I will close this video. Don't beat around the bush about it. Even if you hear of success stories, really, for most people, the only way is the international organization way. So I hope that helps. Again, I will come back now on my regular stream. Feel free to ask me if it's still not clear for you. But again, I think with this video, it should be pretty much clarified for you who gets a permit and how. And welcome your comments below. I will talk to you soon.